Hi everyone, welcome to Life Tips by Ning. Today is the first episode of the I Ching series talking about what is I Ching. So I Ching's I is written like this in the modern Chinese, meaning it's a book of change. It's actually one of the three classical scriptures in the world. One is I Ching from ancient China. The other one is Vedas from ancient India. And last but not least is the Bible. So this is the oracle version of the current Chinese character, meaning change. So this is like found in the old oracle, so it's very image based. There are two ways to look at it. One is on the macro level. This top part represents the sun, and the bottom part represents the moon, like the waxing and waning of the moon. So combine the sun and moon together, it represents the constant law of universe, meaning the sun rise and the moon shows up. It's pretty much based on the old agricultural society and highlights the importance of ancient Chinese people. They observe the astrology autonomy, trying to understand the movement and is there any constant pattern for how those stars and planets move around us, which dictates the weather pattern, which dictates the agriculture results. So that's on the macro level. What E means, it's a change, meaning there's an underneath constant law that drives the symptom surface level how things change. But on the macro level, this actually represents the kind of the wave and particle duality nature of light, which is on the very macro, small, invisible level, because the top part represents the particle nature of light, versus the bottom part is like the light wave. The reason this macro level understanding is important because I Ching, the book of change, has always been used to kind of seeking advice, right? Which image and symbol you will end up landing on, which has a set of meanings to predict promising or challenging results. And that can give us guidance to make really important decisions. This wave and particle duality feature of the book of change, that kind of showcased the theoretical foundation for this simultaneous time concept called synchronicity. That's why the prediction works. So I will spend a different episode explaining it further in detail, but I just want to highlight the ancient symbol, image-based symbol, to showcase both the macro and micro level of E and what it means. It truly is a book about the law of universe and what is the governing regulation and rules for the change we can see in life. So this is an explanation of some basic concept in I Ching. One is the universe original state is called infinity, is infinitely large to the point of no boundary, but at the same time is infinitely small to the point of invisible particles we cannot see with the human eyes. And that's the initial starting condition of the universe. And then the invisible energy and the visible particles start to interact with each other, which created the concept of yin and yang. And yin and yang is the foundational element for all of this content for I Ching that showcase the different rules and regulations and the law of the universe. So to further illustrate the point of yin and yang, which is a kind of an abstract concept, right? Like in real life, if I push somebody, even though I exercise this force, it's called the action part of force, but I also get pushed back by my own force. That is the reaction of force. So that's kind of a very simple way to showcase what is yin and yang? It's the opposite symptoms and surface level manifestation of the same core movement. So going back to physics concepts, this is like explaining how matters or particles exist in the world we live in, right? So matters are consisting of molecules, and molecules are consisting of atoms. And atoms is getting already to that very finite small point that we cannot see with our bare eyes. But within atom, there's nucleus and electron. And within nucleus, this is kind of the composition of how nuclear weapon happens. Even though they're so tiny, can you guys imagine the immense power it can create because of this rule of yin and yang? Within nucleus, there's proton and neutron. So quark is the smallest possible unit to measure particles. So there's like upper quark and down quark. So within proton, there are two upper ones and one down one. And within neutron, there's one upper quark and two down quark. This is all like physics language, but how that translates into the yin and yang concept is that 3 is the foundation composition of all matters in the world because of this sequential relationship. And within 3, there's possible combinations of 1 yin and 2 yang versus 1 yang and 2 yin, right? So that's how you translate physics into this yin and yang concept. And because of that, for the 1 yang and 2 yin scenario, there's 3 possibilities. There's 1 yang in the middle and 2 yin on the side versus 1 yang on the bottom versus 1 yang on the top, right? The rest are all yin, and the extreme condition of all 3 lines are yangs. But all 4 of those situations are called yang trigram. That's a basic yang side of, it's like a I Ching symbol. It's truly a symbol communicating the law of the universe. It's different combinations of yin and yang and what kind of symptoms or natural phenomena it might create. So that's the concept of this trigram. And how we read it is actually from bottom to the top. And each symbol of either yin and yang is called a line. And it's the same concept of the yin trigram, right? There are 3 possibility situations of 1 yin, either in the middle, on the top, or on the bottom, and the extreme case of 3 yins. So altogether, that consists the core foundation knowledge of I Ching. It's Bagua. Ba means 8 in Chinese. Gua is this 3-line symbol. It's the 3 trigram, the 8 total trigrams representing the foundational level of law of the universe. And then once you understand those 8 basics ones, there are different combinations, meaning that each line can also be further divided into an yin and yang possibility. And if you do that, you create a total of 64 scenarios. And I Ching is about those 64 symbols and what each one mean, and how can we kind of land on a particular symbol and which line it is. It can tell us the meaning behind it and if it's promising or challenging. And that plays a very critical role of giving us guidance. So that's kind of the beauty of I Ching. But before I let you guys go, I will spend probably a few minutes going through each of this trigram in details, because understanding them are critical to understand the rest of I Ching. So for the yang trigram side, this one, the extreme state is fairly simple because, as mentioned in the earlier concept, yang is representing this invisible energy, its initiation, its movement, is very energetic. So the extreme state of 3 of these yang lines together, that means heaven. Heaven is invisible. We can't see it, but we know there's a lot of like positive forceful energy exists in it. The next one is water. Water, this one is how we can understand the symbol is that within water there's this constant driving moving force, which is the yang energy. That's why with time water can actually change the shape of a rock in the river. That tells you how forceful it is. But also it's very flexible and adaptable with its shape on the outside. That's why it's wrapped by two of the yin lines in the trigram, because in like you put it in a different container, it shifts its shape. It might be frozen in the winter time, it might evaporate, whatever. So the yin meaning like more adaptable, reactive, calmer. So this is an image describing the characteristics of water very well using the yin and yang foundational traits. The second yang trigram is called thunder. So the bottom is like a moving energy yang line, but it's buried underneath two of the yin lines, meaning the earth, the ground. So imagine you have movement underneath the ground. That reflects thundering in nature. It has this underneath uncovered buried energy from beneath. A third yang trigram is called the mountain. This is because the foundation are two yin lines, meaning this is a calm, non-moving, visible earth. And on top of the earth, if you have energy growing on top of it, it's like the Himalayas mountain is still growing taller and taller. So that represents the mountain energy of changing the shape of a passive, reactive earth. And if you apply this yang energy on top of it, it will form itself into a mountain or volcano, whatever. So in the heaven, we already talked about it. So that's how we understand the image based and how they can describe the different natural phenomena. But then it also means all kinds of things. Like this foundational trait can be expanded into different things in nature or our life. So in terms of family relationship, this pure yang, the heaven one, represents the father in the family. This water one actually represents the middle yang of the kids, so it's the second boy in the family. This thunder one is the older boy in the family, and the mountain one is the youngest boy in the family. Because of this yin and yang combination nature, right? The oldest boy will be like the most movement, driving the force is lies within, very stable and reliable, right? The middle one is more forceful inside, but they're more playful and adaptable on the outside. Versus the youngest kid, they're very energetic, right? The energy is very shown and obvious on the outside. So that's kind of how you can relate the symbols into all those different connections. And the bottom row is the yin trigrams. So the pure extreme state is three of the yin line, meaning the earth or the mother of the family. It's very inclusive, calm, taking care of somebody. The fire one, fire because it's super hot on the outside. So on the edge of it, it has the yang lines representing energy, brightness, and hot, the heat. So that's all from the yang core characteristics. But within fire, it's not like water, super stable and steady and forceful. It's actually flickering and shape shifting quite a bit. So on the inside, in the core of fire, is actually the yin type, which is not a lot of heat and energy. That's why some people can put off a candle with their finger, because once you go through the exterior, the inside is not as hot because it's more yin natured. The second one is lake. This one is an interesting one because you have a material yin type of a passive energy sitting on top of a heaven yang energy. Think about it as the reflection of the sky on the lake. Like you have a calm and very pleasant lake, right? You look at like the sunny sky, this image being reflected on the lake top. So that's mirroring this symbol of you have a lake sitting on top of heaven. It's a reflection image. The wind is, you have a top yang line, which means the heaven, the sky. And then we can't see wind, but when wind blows, the tree will move. So the yin on the bottom represents when this wind energy moves underneath the sky, you can visibly see things. Yin meaning objects, visible stuff, capturing the energy and movement of the wind. So that's how you relate this trigram with wind. And we already talked about earth. So family relationship wise, this is the mom, this is the dad, and this is all yin trigram. So this is all the daughters in the family. The fire one is the middle girl, the second daughter. The lake one will be the youngest, right? It's happy, it's calm, it's pleasant. It has that feminine energy very shown on the top, which is more obvious and apparent to see, versus wind is the oldest daughter, which means that yin energy is more buried, grounded, similar to the sounder for the oldest son. This is the yin trait being buried underneath, meaning they're more reserved, stable, accountable, and more responsible, shares more responsibility for the family, right? So it's more buried underneath. So that's kind of a quick recap of all the 8 trigrams, which is the foundation of I Ching. But I encourage you to spend some time reading through like how those 8 symbols can be applied for different things and different traits outside of the basic nature or family relationship, because understanding this foundation is the key to mastering the whole 64 symbols for I Ching, which will just help us understand the why behind things versus just memorizing the information. But that's a quick and dirty introduction for what is I Ching today. It's all about the governing law of change. There's a constant rule for change. So even though on the surface we see a lot of change, it's based on certain constant laws and regulations of the universe. So that's what I Ching is all about. For the remaining of this I Ching series, here's a quick framework of what I'm going to talk about later. So one is there's like different 2 types of arrangement of those 8 trigrams. One is the core, the root level, describing the macro level of 3-dimensional law of universe. And another is more manifested, useful order of how those 8 things are ranked together, more based on the higher dimension, like 4-dimension, and why those 2 orders matter. And the main purpose is to show you guys why this prediction effect is working. It's not based on some superficial fluff stuff. It's actually explaining the logic-based why behind the actual use of prediction. And then I will spend the episode explaining the historic and cultural context of I Ching, when it was written, by whom. That's why a lot of those explanation language for each line and each symbol has very fun history and cultural based understanding, and that knowing that context will help us interpret and understand the meaning better. And then I'll probably spend 1 or 2 episodes showing you the how. So after explaining the why, showing you how to use different tools from the very traditional one to the coin-based one or a number-based approach to land on one of the 64 symbols and determine out of all the 6 lines which one you land on to get the overall assessment and answer to your question. So that will really be super practical to help you kind of interpret the guidance and make corresponding decisions. And last but not least is just going through every single one of those 64 symbols line by line, showing you guys the meaning, the prediction results, but more importantly, what is the overarching philosophy behind it, and how can we enrich and elevate ourselves based on those philosophies, which sits within the law of the universe. So overall, it has a practical side of prediction, but to me, it's more important to understand the philosophy and enrichment part behind it to make ourselves a better version, a better person. So that's the whole overview and framework of this whole I Ching series. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next time. Bye.